The Detroit Lions started the year 1-6. Remember that? We were all just in pain and we were struggling and we hated it, right? We just hated it. And they have been 6-1 after that. They have completely flipped their record. 1-6, 6-1, and now they're 7-7. So the question we have to ask ourselves is how? Like, how does that happen? That is like about the single most drastic turnaround you can possibly have. So I want to look into 3 reasons why this is happening. And I'm going to start with what I believe to be the single greatest one, but then we're going to dive into it in a second. The single greatest reason, in my opinion, if you got something else, throw it in the comment thread, that the Detroit Lions have turned their season around is turnovers. It's really simple. And I know that's coach speak. And I know it's just like, oh, don't turn the ball over, force turnovers. Look, here, listen to this. In the first 7 games, they had 11 turnovers. That's not good. It's not awful. It's not like atrocious, but it's not good. It's not winning football, while they forced 6. So they were -5 in the turnover department through 7 games. The record was 1-6. That's what it was. In the last 7 games, they have committed 3 turnovers. They have forced 12. They are +9 in the turnover department in the last 7 games. And in that time, they were 6-1. Don't tell me that's not important. When you get the job done and you don't turn the ball over, good things are bound to happen. But we want to take a little bit of a deeper look into the turnover game and what that looks like. And it specifically is one person, and it is my second reason why the Detroit Lions have been able to have a complete turnaround. And it's a guy that, quite frankly, we went from got to get rid of him, we need a new quarterback, got to get rid of him, we need a new quarterback, to, oh, is this possible? Like, is this possible? And that is Jared Goff. So I want to show you this. I was able to, on StatMuse, look at his last 7 games. All right. He has a passer rating of 101.5. He has thrown for 1,700 yards. If you extrapolate that over a 17-game season, he's going to be looking at about 4,000-ish. 11 touchdowns, and wait for it, 1 interception. Okay, so as we break this down, we need to look at Goff, and this is interesting. In the first 3 games, when there was quite a bit of injuries to the wide receiver core, against Green Bay, he only threw it 26 times. Against Chicago, 26 times. Against New York, the Giants, 26 times. He did not throw the ball that often, and he did not throw it for that many yards. After those games, I think he was averaging less than 200 yards on through the air. But since that moment, when we look at the last 4 games where we've gone 3-1, he has thrown the ball almost 40 times every single game. 37, 41, 39, 38. He is throwing the ball with good accuracy. He's throwing the ball for a lot of yards. 240, 340, 330, 252. And he is not turning the ball over. It's really that simple, which comes out with a great QB rating. So the guy's thrown for 242.9 yards per game. He's throwing the ball downfield. The big difference in the most recent game, it was not that he didn't play well. He did play well. He didn't turn the ball over against a very good New York Jets defense. So they didn't give him a lot. So he struggled. I think that we would say it was probably his worst game of the last 4. Maybe the worst game he had of the last 6 or 7. He had a low quarterback rating. He had a low PFF grade. But guess what he didn't do? He didn't turn the ball over. So he gave us an opportunity to win. That is a game. If you turn the ball over one time, one ill-advised interception, 1 fumble, you lose. That's the difference between winning and losing. And if you don't believe me, ask the New York Jets. Ask them how they felt about Zach Wilson's one really, really bad interception that he threw to Jerry Jacobs. Jerry Jacobs should send that man a Christmas card. He should send him a gift and say, thank you so much for giving me my first interception of the year. I needed one. I wanted in on all the turnovers that this team has been creating. Thank you so much. So that kind of leads us into our next reason the Lions have been able to turn it around. And I struggled with trying to decide if I wanted to put this one on here. I'm really struggling trying to decide if I want to put this one on here, but I'm going to. I'm actually going to give you 4 instead of 3. The first one is the defensive backfield. Have they been great over the last 7 games? No. Have opposing quarterbacks thrown for large amounts of yards on us? Yes. Have receivers popped off a little bit? Yes. Okay. Very similar to what we did in every other game. Here's the difference. They're creating turnovers. They're getting interceptions. They're not allowing touchdowns. So that's a really, really big difference. Ever since, I hate to say it, Aubrey Pleasant was let go. It's been there. The defense, the secondary has looked really, really suspect the last 2 weeks, but in those 2 weeks, we did not give away a large amount of points. And then when I go for the 4th point, I think I have to go kind of defense as a whole, or what we're going to call the defensive line. They're starting to get pressure. This defense, I'm going to read off the point totals that they gave up in the first 7 games. Are you ready for it? All right. Here we go. Eagles, 38. Commanders, 27. That was a victory. Minnesota Vikings, 28. Seattle Seahawks, 48. New England Patriots, with Matt Patricia calling the plays, 29. The Dallas Cowboys, 24. The Miami Dolphins, 31. Exit, Aubrey Pleasant. Green Bay Packers, and I'm not saying that Aubrey Pleasant's not a great coach. I think he is. All the coaching staff is still raving about him. But there is a difference in guys creating plays. Instead of our defense running around knocking each other out, you remember that, how much friendly fire we had in the first 2 months of the season? Now they're making plays. Green Bay Packers, victory. They only scored 9. The Chicago Bears, victory. We gave up 30. Fields ran crazy in this game. New York Giants, victory, 18. Buffalo Bills, loss, 28. Jacksonville Jaguars, victory, 14. Minnesota Vikings, victory, 23. New York Jets, victory, 17. All of a sudden, the offense is continuing to do what the offense has done really throughout the entirety of the year. The defense is just starting to play well enough for this team to win. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens against Carolina. They have shown that they can move the ball a little bit, which is shocking to me, but they don't have the pieces that they should to be an elite offense. It should be another game where we're not allowing a large amount of points against this Carolina team, and their defense is nowhere near what the Jets defense is. So this should be a 31-17 victory for the Lions, but we'll see. The secondary is struggling. The PFF grades this past week for our defenders were awful. They were all in the 40s or 50s. Bad. Okudah, Elliott, and you saw a couple of times out there, Joseph, just like, what are you doing, bro? But can we hold this defense together enough? Can we get help enough that it will continue? So I think the defensive backfield, but then I never elaborated on it. The defensive line. We're starting to get healthy. We're starting to have young players play well. I'm looking at you, James Houston. All right. I'm looking at you, Aiden Hutchinson. All right. I'm looking at you guys, and they are playing well. And then you have guys coming back like Romeo Okwara off injury. And all of a sudden, you have a good defensive line, and the run defense has been much better. So I think that's kind of how the Lions have flipped their season around. So we'll call it these 3 reasons. Turnovers, number 1. Number 2, the biggest component of that, Jared Goff in the turnovers. Lack of turnovers, making good reads, accurate passing without mistakes. Number 3, the defense has been good enough. That's what we'll call it. Those are our 3 reasons. The defense has been good enough to play complementary football. Let me know if there's another reason you can think of. There's a bunch, right? Wide receivers are healthy. Offensive line, right? But I kind of thought to myself, well, the offensive line's played pretty good all year. The receivers, when healthy, have been good. So that's kind of why I went with the 3 I did. You let me know if you have another one or if you agree with mine, and we'll see you on the next one.